What is up, everyone? Dan here, Crypto Capital Venture, April 14th, 2019. If you're a replay viewer, I imagine 5-10 minutes into the stream, we'll probably start price talk, charts, talk, analysis, which you see on the screen here. So you can go probably to the pinned timestamp below when I have a chance to update that, and you can go right to that part of the video. So the beginning of the video, I'm going to just give it a few seconds or a few minutes to let some people get in here. Going to go over some Bitcoin news, namely, one Bitcoin could exceed $1 million in 7 to 10 years. PayPal director. Anytime something like this comes out, I usually read it because it's fun. It's fun to envision a world with $1 million Bitcoin. And if you don't think that's fun, then you're crazy, especially if you're in crypto. John Red, thanks for the $1.99 super chat. And also, to get things kicked off, I want to let everybody know, in regards to these super chats, if you're new here, they go to our LAUNCHPAD Foundation. And in the last month, we've raised almost $1,000. That's including what we're matching here at Crypto Capital Venture. So thank you, everybody, all you super chatters out there. You're ridiculously awesome. And I tweeted, that we raised almost $1,000 since March. And I posted one of the projects that we support in Philly, in inner city Philadelphia. So thanks, John Red, for the $1.99 super chat. And before we get to all right, so let's kind of jump in here. Before we get to the $1 million Bitcoin, I want to talk about a couple things. Number one, in regards to the technical analysis we're going to do today. I tweeted the other day, 2 days ago, the more I stare at Bitcoin charts, the more I'm just convinced it will retrace to $4,100 range. I know I've been saying this. Actually. And I know some people aren't happy with it. And it's not the most exciting sentiment, but I can't ignore it. I do want to be proven wrong. And it's so true. So I see some people coming in here. Electrician Services, what's up? Electrician Services Corp, stay-at-home dad. Are you a born-again Christian? I am a born-again Christian. I'm a faithful follower of Jesus Christ. Stay-at-home dad here. Thanks for coming by. Christopher Capra, get it. Mr. Sid Vicious, hey Dan. That 50 EMA though. We're going to talk about that 50 EMA, the 50 moving average on the weekly chart. Capitalized 777. So, it's not the most fun, sentiment in the markets right now, namely because nobody wants to be bearish unless you're shorting Bitcoin right now. Everybody wants to be bullish, right? We want to talk about $1 million Bitcoin. That's why it's fun to talk about it. We're going to talk about that, but I can't help but think there's retracement in play right now. And I have to put that out there, right? So the other thing is, I tweeted this. This is more of something I'm interested in seeing if you guys, I'm interested in seeing what your thoughts are here, because I got some kickback on this. I didn't even expect to get any kickback here. Stay-at-home dad, that's awesome to hear. I love that, man. I said yesterday, QR codes might be the very short-term future of crypto payments, but soon we will walk up to checkout monitor, scan our face, and choose our payment method on screen. Biometric data plus crypto is the future of payments. I actually didn't tweet that being like, yes, this is awesome, I love that. That's just a fact, in my opinion. This is where we're going, and it's happening so fast. No, I don't think anybody's going to be able to stop this. This is the technology. This is the world we live in. You're going to walk up to a register. There's going to be a screen there scanning your face, and you're going to click on the screen your payment method. It's already happening, right, in Asia. And in regards to integration of Bitcoin, Litecoin, you'll scan your face, and maybe on your screen you can just tap Bitcoin, tap Visa, Litecoin, your bank, whoever you bank with. The options will be there. That's the world we live in. And I got a lot of people on here saying that, no, this is terrible, Dan. This one says, so you see losing privacy as a good thing. Why do I need to identify myself for any payment? And I think what's important to note is I never said it was a good thing. I just said that's what's going to happen, because it is what's going to happen. And I kind of wanted to get your thoughts out there in the chats. Press 1 if If you're incredibly against this and hate it and don't want it to happen, press 2 if you're just like, whatever. This is more curiosity for me. I'm very curious. I'm going to show this quick video. I know this is like off topic of Bitcoin. It's why we have the timestamps. So bear with me, and then I'm going to go to the charts. But here's this video. This is Alipay. I believe in Alibaba division. Alipay launches Smile to Pay in China, right? This is 2017. This is a year and a half ago. Like, this is what they're doing over there. So check it out. And she just bought food with her face and a tap on the screen. And I do see this happening very soon here. We're doing this. And if you are a fighter for privacy, I really hate to break it to you. Do you have one of these? An iPhone? Do you have a phone? Do you have a computer? Right now, the world we live in, if you think your data is private, that's stretching it. It really is. And when we get this technology that just keeps advancing quicker and quicker, it's going to be incredibly difficult. And I'm not saying I'm a proponent for this. I'm just saying this is the reality, right? I'm a realist. Like, this is the world we live in. You think you're going to get more and more privacy as we proceed further into life? It's probably not going to happen. I hate to break it to you. I really do. If you want privacy, disconnect. Throw out your computer. If you want privacy, throw out your smartphone. Throw it out. Buy some land, somewhere in Colorado. When you're flying over the United States and you're just flying over land and there's literally nothing, buy some land there. Build a bunker. Cut off all internet if you want privacy. That's pretty much what you need to do. So it's kind of a fine balance, right? If we want integration of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, it's going to have to be integrated into the way the world is operating. And the way the world is operating right now is facial recognition, is pretty much a lack of privacy, is cameras everywhere. Right? Is our biometric data everywhere, whether we like it or not. So that's just kind of my thought for the day. I'm not saying I like that. I'm really not. But I'm not going to sit here and try and go to war with it because I don't have time for that. That's not my priority. I have way other different priorities, and I'm not so concerned about it. And at the end of the day, I'll throw this out there. I don't have the iPhone X. I have, I think, the 7. I don't know which one this is. 7 Plus. Sarah has the X, and whenever she picks up her phone and just unlocks her phone with the facial recognition, I think it's awesome. It's ridiculous. You can make a purchase just staring at your phone online, boom, done. I like that, I just think it's cool. But whatever, that's just me. So let's jump in, right? Timestamp this, probably 9 minutes in, boom, $1 million Bitcoin, everybody. One Bitcoin could exceed $1 million in 7 to 10 years. PayPal director. By the way, if you're here and you're not a subscriber, help me get to 20,000 subscribers. I need less than 40. It's been a long time coming. Hey, we just got a subscriber. Thank you, Christian22. In an essay published on Kana and Katana last month, a research platform run by Ikaji Asset Management, Zapo CEO Wences Caceres, wow, that's tough to say, said that Bitcoin may be worth more than $1 million in 7 to 10 years. Zoom in, Liz. In my subjective opinion, those chances of succeeding are at least 50%. If Bitcoin does succeed, one Bitcoin may be worth more than $1 million in 7 to 10 years. That is 250 times what it is worth today. At the time of writing, the price of Bitcoin is 4,000, Caceres wrote. Press 1 if you think we're going to $1 million Bitcoin in 7 to 10 years. Just press 1. Press 2 if you don't think so. According to Caceres, a director at PayPal, investing in an emerging asset like Bitcoin poses risks, and it would be irresponsible for an investor to invest anything more than can be lost. True that. I love it. But he emphasized that it would be almost as irresponsible to not have any exposure to Bitcoin at all. 100% agree. 100% agree. I think there's more risk in not investing in Bitcoin long term. I really do. And Litecoin. How would Bitcoin succeed? A strong argument can be made that Bitcoin has already succeeded. It has been operating for 10 years as a purely decentralized network of miners, node operators, users, and developers that sustain the Bitcoin blockchain protocol as a whole. It is impressive. Caceres said that if Bitcoin succeeds, it would not replace reserve currencies like the US dollar, but rather operate on top of or alongside reserve currencies as an alternative. Besides the $1 million Bitcoin piece that we're talking about in this article, I really like the other context surrounding this, is what he's talking about. So it continues. If Bitcoin succeeds, it will most likely not replace any national currency. It may be a supranational currency that exists on top of all national currencies. If Bitcoin succeeds, it may be a global, non-political standard of value and settlement. And in a world where we have this non-political standard of value and settlement, in a world right now where we have something like that, a non-political, decentralized, open source standard of value, heck yes, I can see how something like that would be $1 million. And it's a great point. It steers us a little bit away of saying, oh, Bitcoin's going to replace, all fiat. Bitcoin's going to replace the US dollar. That talking point. It kind of puts us on a different talking point, and a very realistic one. From a value proposition, mindset, and perspective, it actually makes so much sense. In regions with inefficient and expensive financial services like the Philippines, for instance, 1 in every 10 adults are said to be utilizing cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin through exchanges and remittance applications. I suggest that a $10 million portfolio should invest at most $100,000 in Bitcoin, up to 1%, but not more, as the risk of losing this investment is high. If Bitcoin fails, this portfolio will lose at most $100,000 or 1% of its value over 3 to 5 years, which most portfolios can bear. But if Bitcoin succeeds in 7 to 10 years, those $100,000 may be worth more than $25 million, more than twice the value of the entire initial portfolio. He further added that with more than 60 million holders moving over $1 billion per day globally using Bitcoin, the dominant cryptocurrency has a solid chance of succeeding. And I 100% agree. The $1 million Bitcoin price projection of Caceres comes from his observation that the Bitcoin price can often be calculated by $7,000 multiplied by the number of Bitcoin holders. I have noticed over time that the price of Bitcoin fluctuates around $7,000 times how many people own Bitcoin. So if that constant maintains, and if 3 billion people ever own Bitcoin, it would be worth $21 trillion, $7,000 times 3 billion people, or $1 million per Bitcoin, he explained. I love the way this dude's thinking. When I'm doing technical analysis and stuff, you kind of look at all these different data points and all these different trends and consistencies over the history of Bitcoin, right? And I like that he's doing that with this different data. And I love his observation of potentially $1 million Bitcoin. So wanted to cover that, wanted to show that to you. Let's talk about the charts. Again, I know I brought this up a little bit earlier, but the more I stare at Bitcoin charts, the more I am convinced it will retrace to $4,100 range. I know I've been saying this, and it's not the most exciting sentiment, but I can't ignore it. So let's look at it. We're gonna talk about Bitcoin and Litecoin, and really it's Bitcoin on the weekly, right? And I know I have the thumbnail. I have like an ocean wave, And I'm not talking about wave theory here, really. It's really just if you zoom out on crypto charts, zoom out on Bitcoin charts, what does it look like? It just looks like a bunch of waves, a bunch of tsunamis over and over, followed by little waves leading up to the next tsunami over and over. And really that's just Bitcoin's parabolic trends versus its retracements to key support areas, namely our 786 Fibonacci. Fibonacci plays into these waves, plays into the beautiful trend of Bitcoin and what you see on the charts, right? So you can take swing low in that last bear market to previous swing all-time high, and you can see how we have our Fibonacci 786 on the weekly chart, right? And I'm trying to find my brush, and here it is. Here's the 786 line on the weekly chart, right there. And that's an incredibly important area on our zoomed out charts. In trying to define the bottom, in trying to define retracements for Bitcoin, it is an extremely important area, that 786. From swing low in the last bear market to swing high in the last bull market, our 786 right there is slicing right through the middle of Bitcoin's current bottom. And it's an incredibly valuable data point that we use as the foundation, really, to our technical analysis, starting on the weekly, going to the daily, going into the 4-hour even. To show you what that retracement looks like, we can take the same Fibonacci tool, Fibonacci retracement, on the weekly chart, and we can kind of do the same thing, which is, actually, I have to expand the chart, which is swing low at the bottom of this long-term parabolic trend, this white line, right, for Bitcoin. So swing low before that parabolic to the upper trend line, swing high, Fibonacci on the long-term retracement, again, right to our 786 line, this yellow line, this thin line that you see, kind of this 786 right here, slicing again the bottom of that last bear market, defining it, so to speak, looking back. And so you see the similarities here, right? Because not only do we have that 786 we use for context, but we can take our triangle and we can say, okay, what else are we looking at right now in terms of different data? And two more extremely important areas are the 50 moving average and the 200 moving average on this incredibly important weekly chart. So what do we have? 50 moving average, this blue line. 200 moving average, this pink line. And you can just see. And then we have, take in mind, this Fibonacci retracement long-term slicing in between the two. And we see the consolidation as Bitcoin formed and defined the final part of that last bear market, right? It consolidated between the 50 moving average and the 200 moving average, this pink line, and just kind of wrapped around that 786 Fibonacci, that yellow line, boom. And then what happened? Bitcoin broke out and started entering into that next bull market. It's the move, it's the flow of Bitcoin. So look at this, and I'll actually leave that open just so we can kind of, if you want to take a glance back at what that looks like and compare it, we can see something similar in the formation right now. We have the 50 moving average. Well, first off, we have this incredibly important since November, December, bottoming out of Bitcoin. But then we have this bounce off the 200 moving average, similar to right back here, bounce off the bottom, 200 moving average weekly chart, revisit to the 50 moving average on the weekly, revisit to the 50 moving average on the weekly, the 786 slicing. And so what can we anticipate moving forward? And this is what we use the charts for, not for predicting exactly what's going to happen. Nobody can do that. Nobody can do that, but we can certainly anticipate a more likely scenario. And if it diverges from that scenario, we can really start calling, wow, the bulls are present, right? So here's the scenario. 50 moving average resistance at this point after this bounce off the 200 moving average. We have our 50 moving average consolidation similar to this last bear market, right? That's what we're anticipating. That's what I'm anticipating. And so if we're anticipating something like this, what's our range really? Well, worst case scenario, we have a 200 moving average revisit, right, down here, which if it happens in a month and a half, it could come up a little bit to around $3,700. So essentially $3,700 revisit. That's on the very downside. What we look like, what we would look at for support for Bitcoin. That is, for me personally, this is not financial advice. Anything down here, if Bitcoin revisits, would be probably my heaviest accumulation area in this market, heavier than back here. Simply because the consistency of Bitcoin, if it does that and revisits the 50 moving average after bouncing off, or revisits the 200 moving average down here after bouncing off the 50 moving average up here, would be so consistent with that last bear market move right here, revisiting the 200 moving average. It would just be too bullish of a setup not to accumulate. And on the downside, we're talking, not only do we like buying the dips anyway, but we're talking about a 30% dip, 30% plus dip for Bitcoin. So of course, it's a great area to accumulate, and that's what I will be doing. This is not financial advice. Don't listen to YouTubers on making your own decisions. Evaluate the data yourself, but that's what I'll be doing. But in the general scheme of things, we are looking, or at least I am looking, for consolidation in this triangle here, right? And we've had this long-term parabolic chart for a while. We've had it locked in, right? This line right here has been locked in for months now. And so this line for me on this chart starts around end of summer. So I'm still anticipating consolidation for Bitcoin leading into summer sometime, right? And so that could be anywhere in this range. We could revisit and test the 786, $4,300, right? We could revisit, like we just talked about, $3,500, a 200 moving average. But really what we're looking for is a pullback for Bitcoin. That's what I'm anticipating. That's what I'm waiting for. And Litecoin is actually going to play into this story when we get to Litecoin, and I will discuss that. But right now you can see stock RSI overbought, RSI kind of in the middle, not overbought, but could really go either way. So a pullback would really be even a more bullish setup for Bitcoin in the longer term, right? It would require some additional patience, but could be an even more bullish setup for Bitcoin. So going over to the daily chart, what we can look at is, all right, on the more short-term time frame, instead of looking out so zoomed out on the weekly, what can we anticipate? Well, first off, we can take our previous swing low off of the 50 moving average support that we got, which was incredibly bullish for Bitcoin, right? We've talked about all year the resistance at the 50 moving average. It was awesome to see Bitcoin starting in February began making a move similar to the last bear markets above the 50 moving average. And from that support over a month and a half, Bitcoin bounced up, right? Or took off, so to speak. And so we take that swing low to most previous swing high, and we look at our Fibonacci on the daily chart. And we kind of just, for a shorter term mindset, we look at our Fibonacci retracements, the 618 here to the 786 here, confluent exactly with the 50 moving average on the daily. And we're looking at around $4,100 to $4,400, right? And if we go back to our weekly chart on Bitcoin, what is in that area? The 786 long-term Fibonacci is in that area. That's my first area of retracement that I'm anticipating for Bitcoin. And on the downside, that's around 12 to 20% or so. So it's not that drastic of a pullback for Bitcoin if that happened. But it's an extremely important area to watch out for support, because if we don't get support there, then we're talking about that 200 moving average down here. And I keep going to the Litecoin chart. Let me move this over. We go down to our 200 moving average on the weekly, around $3,500 to $3,700. And we can see that on the charts here, right? And that's really all the way down here at the bottom trend line of that long-term ascending triangle. That's our kind of worst case, for me, heavy accumulation area for Bitcoin. That's what I'm anticipating. Could totally happen, totally in play, especially if you zoom out on the charts and you look at what happened in the last bear market. That's essentially exactly what happened. It was a huge retracement. And price range wise, from swing high to that swing low, even on the wick on that weekly, almost 40% to the downside, right? So if we're going to use that for context to what that would look like today, where Bitcoin is, that's around $3,000. A move like that. More realistic would be a move maybe around 25%, 30% to that pink line, the 200 moving average. That would be more consistent with that last bear market. So that's what we're anticipating. Now going over to Litecoin. Litecoin has really been that anchor, right, to our technical analysis for Bitcoin. We started watching Litecoin, and when Litecoin made its move, probably, what was that? It was in February. Litecoin started really making a huge move. We likened it to back in May of 2015 as Litecoin began its move out of that last bear market, right? And Litecoin has seen some extraordinary gains against even Bitcoin. And it's very important to note because we started talking about this before it even started happening, and then it happened. So there's something there, right? If we're using Litecoin data, it's because something's there. It's not just because I'm bullish on Litecoin, which I am, obviously. But there's more to it than just that. Litecoin has provided great context and direction for us in terms of, anticipating moves. So I want to look at a few things on Litecoin. Number one, the 50 moving average on the weekly chart. So you can see, Litecoin, not only is it overextended, right, on the daily chart, but Litecoin is overextended kind of on the weekly chart. And you can see it. And you can compare it to that last bear market when it was overextended then. Currently, if we look at price range, at one point, it was around 50% overextended from the 50 moving average. Currently, it's right around 20% or so. So it's definitely consolidated back down a little bit. But it really is our first area of Litecoin that we're looking for support is the 50 moving average. And why are we doing that? It's simple. Now that we broke above the 50 moving average on the weekly, which is incredibly bullish, incredibly important, on the zoomed out chart, it is truly the best data point for Litecoin in terms of, do we have bullish support? If Litecoin retraced, which is what I've been talking about, I don't know, I think since we were in the high 80s, retracing to $60. If Litecoin does that, that's not bearish. I want to put that out there. If Litecoin retraces to around $60 range and Bitcoin retraces to like $4,100, that's not bearish. It's a huge move down, but it's not bearish in the long term scheme of things and the long term move for Bitcoin and Litecoin. Samir, $4.99 super chat for the Launchpad Foundation. Thanks, Samir. It would be nice for more accumulation. Plus, it would be healthy for a long run. Yeah, exactly, Samir. You're right on point. And thank you for the super chat. Is my volume? Did somebody just super chat us? Did I miss it, or no? I don't know. Let me know, Poseidon Lou. So exactly what Samir just said, it would be healthy in the long run, and it's true. It's exactly similar to even this, if we measure from this wick back in 2015 as the retracement back to the 50 moving average, 70% to the downside. Looking back, that was very healthy for Litecoin, right? And so something similar is definitely in play for Litecoin. It would be healthy. So what does that look like to the downside from where we are right now? It's not even that bad, right? It's 18% further to the downside. Because if you think about it, this last week, we've already covered like 12% or so, if not a little bit more. So Litecoin has already started kind of its consolidation right now. And that can also play into Bitcoin's consolidation that we started talking about, right? These things happen simultaneously when they happen. So Bitcoin consolidating within this 50 moving average, 200 moving average range is consistent with Litecoin also consolidating above the 50 moving average, right? Even in terms of price and even in terms of price range on the downside. So that's what we're looking at. We're looking at the low 60s for retracement for Litecoin. It's just true. It's what I'm doing. If you want to sit there and anticipate more strongly that we're just going to keep going up parabolically, that's fine too. I welcome you to have your own opinions and make your own decisions. This is just my opinion. If you want to pick up what I'm throwing down and kind of use it for your own data's sake, then do it. But this certainly isn't fact. This is just my thoughts, right? Based on the charts. Retracement, further consolidation back down, and it's what happened in the last bear market. Boom. And it happened over like a month and a half. So this could be kind of a slow grind back down to the 60s in the next month or so. It could happen overnight. Like these things can happen within an hour. So we have to sit back and have patience. Now, on that point, I do want to say if Litecoin, Bitcoin continues to go up right now, this would be the divergence that we're talking about, where it kind of just goes completely opposite of what happened in the last bear market. And we've talked about this for probably months now, right? Since we started tracking the similarities here. Yeah, definitely months. The similarities of these bottoms. And I basically have been saying once Bitcoin and Litecoin detracts away from these consistencies, these similarities between these bear markets, I'll stop comparing them, right? We'll find the new data and we'll start looking at the new data. But it hasn't done that. It hasn't gone astray from the way it moves. It just hasn't. And it continues to look so similar. And even this weekly red candle that nobody likes that we've gotten plays into that, right? It just plays into that. So another data point on this weekly chart zoomed out, we've talked about it before on this channel, is this. In this bear market, what did Litecoin do? Bitcoin did the same thing above 6,000. It kind of just found a spot and almost just consolidated and found support, and then it broke down, right? Bitcoin did that at 6,000. Litecoin did it around $50. We were trading above 50,000, broke down, right? And that's a really key area for us because it's a data point that we can track. Coming out of this last bear market in 2015, Litecoin, right, from its bottom, broke through that area. Similarly, Litecoin, coming out of this bear market, broke through the $50 area and at the same time broke the 50 moving average. What did it do last time? Broke the 50 moving average. And this plays into the waves. This plays into the thumbnail that's on the front of this on this video. These are the waves. These are the moves. This is the moving average flow of Litecoin. That's all. It's not a theory. It just kind of is what it is on the charts. And it makes sense that it follows itself, that it has flow, that it has consistency, like a wave that you watch in the ocean. It just has a flow to it, right? You can watch it and anticipate what it's going to do next as it lays itself over. And so the same is for charts, for Fibonacci retracement, for numbers. And so if we look at that last break above that support area that it had going down in the bear market, right here, this white line, Litecoin, in the weeks following, like after breaking it, obviously it wicked up like 140 some percent, was ridiculous, but more conservatively, it really saw resistance around 45 to 50% to the upside. So if we look at that white line, the $50 area Litecoin broke through and then broke through the 50 moving average, what are we looking at? We're seeing resistance around 72% to the upside. So it totally makes sense why we're slowing down here, at least in the last couple of weeks. It's because Litecoin wants to maybe consolidate a little bit, and it makes sense. And if you want to picture an illustration of what that looks like, it's right here, right? Going into that next halving, again, going into this next halving, similarities. Let's talk about the RSI on Litecoin. The RSI on Litecoin, another hint for Bitcoin, for the markets that we are in right now. Look, and this is something else we've anticipated for the charts. and it's not so much we anticipated, it's just that we said, okay, in that last bear market, right? And just so we can open this up one more time, here's the top in the last bear, or not the top, but here's this resistance that we just talked about before Litecoin consolidated back to the 50 moving average. When that happened, what did the RSI look like, right? And we can open up the RSI, the slower moving momentum oscillator, to get an idea of Litecoin momentum. What did it do? It hit the overbought area right here, overbought zone, and then it just consolidated back to that 50 moving average on the weekly chart. What has happened? I mean, it's almost, we obviously just into that overbought area. We didn't quite get up to the 74, 75 area that we got in that last bear market. But look at the similarities here coming out of the bottom for Litecoin, right? It sees a resistance, and then it actually is actually cruising back down a little bit. So the question is that similarity consistent with Litecoin revisiting, retracing, consolidating down here to low 60s at the 50 moving average? Well, if it plays out how it did in the last bear market, then the answer would be yes, that's what's happening. Going into this next halving into summer, that's exactly what's happening. But what we really want to watch out for is if Litecoin does that, are we going to get the same support at the 50 moving average that we got, right? We're talking months and months after that. We need to track that. That's what we'll be doing on this channel. We'll be tracking these things. And same thing for Bitcoin. We'll be tracking these things. So that's really Litecoin. That's the 50 moving average. That's the RSI that we talked about. And we already talked about this bear market support, right? This line that we had in the bear market, almost potential support. Really good data point to watch. And we can watch that. So that's Litecoin. Litecoin on the daily chart. You know, what else is in that low 60s area? Similar to, and let me go back to the weekly. Similar to the 50 moving average on the weekly chart, right? The low 60s. What's similar to that? Well, the 50 moving average on the daily chart for Litecoin, right? It's around $64 on this chart. So downside wise, healthy consolidation to the downside would be another 15%, maybe even a little bit more. But again, what would we be looking for? The same as Bitcoin. The most important thing on the daily, support above the 50 moving average, is one of the most bullish signs that we could possibly get. It really is. And that's what I'm watching for. I'm not even so much concerned of a 15, 20% dip in Litecoin. I like the thought of accumulating more Litecoin. I'm more concerned and interested to see if we get support at the 50 moving average, right? And I'm more interested to see if we get support at the 50 moving average on the weekly. It's so important that we do, because that is where we need to see that similarity played out to that last bear market. Because if we get divergence on the downside, even we talk about divergence on the upside, meaning Litecoin keeps going and it defies all gravity right now, right? And it defies this last move. But if we get divergence on the downside, meaning if we actually break through the 50 moving average, this is what it would look like happening in that last bear market. Here's what it would look like happening in this bear market. If that happens, then we're in a whole new territory. It's a whole new ball game if that happens. So those are my thoughts for Litecoin. 40 minutes just straight talking. I feel like I didn't even take a breath. By the way, if you're here right now, I don't even know. I should check right now. I doubt it's anything different, but if you're here right now, you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. I never really ask for subscribers like a lot, but in this live stream, I'm pleading with you. I'm pleading with you. 34, it looks like 34 more subscribers, and I will have 20,000 subscribers. I'm pleading with you. I'm begging you, desperately, pathetically, live on YouTube right now. It would be cool. It'll happen. I'm sure it'll happen, if not today, hopefully sometime this week. But we have John Kim Official in the house. He says yo, and he says 20K. I love it. What's up, John? Did you get the link I sent you yesterday? Litecoin Foundation newsletter getting ready to go out, I believe this week. John Kim featured. John, I love you too, dude. I really do. You're the man. You're my bro. So I had the last, we covered a ton in that 40 minutes, but the last thing I did wanted to talk about is, and I had this up for last week or the other day, and I never did a video on it, but just look at the retracements. Just look at the retracements to the 50 moving average for Bitcoin. And you kind of see it, right? Like, these are waves. This is what I'm talking about with waves. This is what I'm talking about with Fibonacci retracements, the flow of Bitcoin in a bull market, the flow of Bitcoin in a bear market, the flow of Bitcoin out of a bear market into a bull market. It's really kind of beautiful. But what I want to talk about, or the reason I charted this, right, and I just kind of took these points, is because if you look at, even in this bull market, the retracements, and this is something, if you're new, especially if you're new into crypto, I really want you to look at this, because this is where people kind of get that FOMO problem, right? The fear of missing out. They buy the top and then they sell the bottom type of deal. And it's mainly because they buy the top of the wave. Like, they buy when the wave is just about to crash down, right? And again, there's going to be another wave, but they keep buying the top of the wave. And this is what it looks like. This is illustrated in the bull market, where Bitcoin will overextend itself extremely from the 200 moving average, that pink line, but also from the 50 moving average, the blue line. And then what does it do? It has to be pulled back. It has to retrace back down. And you can see it happening over and over again. So even in a bull market, 40% retracements within a matter of a few days happened, and will most likely happen again moving forward. So please, when the markets are just doing amazing, and we just saw this a couple weeks ago, markets were doing amazing. Don't get high on emotion, right? It's just a wave forming. Have you ever been on a beach and you're just like watching the waves, and every so often there will just be like, oh man, look at that wave, right? Because there's a big wave coming. And it's always fascinating and awesome to watch a big wave form. But what happens to the wave? It crashes. It falls. It literally consolidates into just smooth water. And the same exact thing happens on all charts. Bitcoin, Apple, Amazon, I don't care what you're looking at. That's what happens. Bitcoin is more volatile. Bitcoin, often you see huge waves. But what happens? 40% retracement, 21% retracement, 34% retracement, 35% retracement, 39% retracement, 39% retracement, 28% retracement. And that's in a bull market, right? That's with continued uptrend, like month after month. So please, if you're here right now and you're new, anticipate these things, because they happen, right? But maybe even more importantly, in context to actually where we are right now, as Bitcoin is trying to exit this bear market, we talked about the most important thing, right? The inverse of a bull market is a bear market. And instead of waves to the upside above the 50 moving average, and you see it illustrated in this 2014 bear market, we have waves to the downside, overextended, but resistance below the 50 moving average, right? So what we're trying to do now is we're trying to define that type of thing ending, right? And we saw it. Look at the waves forming below the 50 moving average. That's our bear market that we just went through together. Look at this overextension. Beautiful buy zone, overextended. If we're on the beach in a bear market and we see a huge wave and we're looking out into the ocean and we're saying, look at that wave, it is so big, right? In a bear market, that's when you want to buy the fear. It's overextended, it's a huge wave, and it's going to consolidate back to reality. It's going to kind of find that even flow. And that's what it did, right? It got pulled back to the 50 moving average, but entering into the next bull market, what we're really looking for, again, because it's happening right now, we're overextended from the 50 moving average. It's a big wave, right? 30% overextended. We're looking for consolidation. But more importantly, if we get this consolidation, if we get this wave that you see on the screen crash, what are we really looking for? Not only for it to crash, because if it crashes, it's not going to really be impressive or surprising. If it crashes, we're looking for support, right? And it's a 17% retracement. It's nothing crazy, but this would be beautiful illustration around $4,200 support above the 50 moving average, a beautiful illustration of a bull market ahead of us. This is a foundation, right? It's support at the 50 moving average as opposed to resistance at the 50 moving average. It would be support at the 50 moving average. So definitely look out for that. Look out for some retracement. Look out for these waves. Dude, we just got $100 super chat. David S. That calls for the $100 walk off. I gotta stretch. $100. $100 super chat. Are you serious? I gotta walk. I just have to just breathe when that happens. David S. First off, that's going right to the LAUNCHPAD Foundation, which I tweeted. And if you're here, I just tweeted this the other day. Thanks to you all, LAUNCHPAD has raised almost $1,000 since March, right? I can probably, between what we're matching, we're pretty much at $1,000 in like the last month. And David S., it's going right to the LAUNCHPAD Foundation. And I put an HBO video of one of the projects in Philly we support, Rock Ministries. But I really appreciate it, man. That is so inspiring. And I can't say enough how thankful I am, how stinking humbled I am that you would donate $100. And I do see you, Poseidon Lou. $9.99 super chat. The flood will come. Poseidon Lou says the flood will come. And I'm pretty sure he's referencing to all our wave talks, right? The flood will come. I agree. And I think what he's talking about is a bull market flood where we just go parabolic and things get crazy and there's too much water, too many waves breaking. It will happen. It will happen. I think on the short term, consolidation is definitely key. And right now we're building a foundation to support huge waves, huge floods, as Poseidon Lou says. Poseidon Lou, thank you so much for $9.99 super chat. David S., $100 super chat. You're awesome. You're both awesome. And then we have Script Skynet with a $9.99 super chat. What the heck is going on with these super chats, everybody? Man, it's a blessed Sunday. I'll tell you that much. Script Skynet. LTC forever. Thanks, Dan. Script Skynet. Thank you, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate all of you for these super chats. Glory to God. I'm extremely grateful. And I'm telling you, this stuff isn't going into my pockets, right? And I love that me and Sarah made the decision to do this. It feels so much better to have these super chats coming in, knowing we're going to be doing something good, not for ourselves. And I love that we're all just kind of in this together and we're part of this together. And it makes it way more fun kind of growing this YouTube channel right now. So thank you, super chatters. You're ridiculously awesome. And it means a lot. So that's it, really. I mean, those are our... I'm going to post this link. I started this live stream with this article. Here's a link. I just put it in the super chat. And it's talking about $1 million Bitcoin. And Robert Carr, 20 euros, I guess. Robert, new screen name. I'm pretty sure I've never seen you before. Thank you so much, Robert. Appreciate you. Obviously not from the States. And thank you so much. Right to the LAUNCHPAD Foundation, Robert. It means a lot that you're even out there just kind of watching, supporting. And thank you for the super chats. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, man. Man, it's just crazy. So, like most of these people, most of you guys I've never even met. I've met Poseidon Lou, but I wish I could just 20 pounds. It's 20 pounds, not yours. I'm sorry. But you know what I meant. You guys, like, I wish I could just chill, hang out with you, shake your hand, and I appreciate it. I really do. So there's that article, but in case you missed the beginning of this live stream talking about the $1 million, what I thought was really interesting about it was really this quote. It was the most interesting quote to me. If Bitcoin succeeds, it will most likely not replace any national currency. It may be a supranational currency that exists on top of all national currencies. If Bitcoin succeeds, it may be a global, non-political standard of value and settlement. I just love that. And, definitely read this article. I'm not going to read through it again, but I really like that quote. A global, non-political standard of value and settlement. Non-political, decentralized, open source for the people. If you wonder how Bitcoin can get to $1 million, that truly is a huge selling point on how that's going to happen. John Kim Official says he gives me his heart as a super chat. I love it. Yasha Harari, Philly, good town, people, and cheesesteaks and hoagies. So true. This was last Saturday, everybody. I was proud. I was grateful. Where is this? I was proud to go to Pat Steaks in Philly with Charlie Lee. Was at the Penn Blockchain Summit. He spoke. Sarah and I went, shared some Philly cheesesteaks with Charlie Lee, and we had a conversation about how Litecoin would ever be integrated in something like Pat's King of Steaks, which literally doesn't even accept credit card, only cash. And I think we both agreed the path is a challenging path forward. It really is. It's not like it's going to happen within a few months here, everybody. We need patience. We need innovation. We need ideas. But was extremely grateful to break bread with Charlie, and it was very fun. We have another stinking super chat. Tiffany Petrosi. I love Litecoin and the fact that is the best group of supporters that care about others like you, Dan. Tiffany, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I love Litecoin and the fact that it has the best group of supporters. So I can't help but believe the same thing. And I just recorded a video for Litecoin newsletter, and it featured John Kim, it featured John Moore, and these are just two guys, two examples. Was going to have David Schwartz in there, but couldn't get a video in time from him. But just perfect illustrations of just these people that are coming out and like doing crazy good work for Litecoin community, Litecoin adoption, supporting other people getting into crypto, like kind of acting as a doorway of knowledge, of support, of motivation for people that want to get into technology. And like Tiffany says, and thank you, Tiffany, for a super chat, Litecoin seems to have the best group of supporters. It just does. I don't know what it is. I don't think it's because I'm bullish on Litecoin and I like Litecoin. I literally just think, objectively speaking, Litecoin has the best supporters, right? And there's so many to name. Poseidon Lou, my boy Poseidon Lou is one of those guys in the Litecoin community. But there's so many. Evil Black Book says Litecoin is doomed. Litecoin is doomed. You crack me up. Evil Black Book, you crack me up. I think there's many people in this chat that would disagree with you. From a technological perspective, I disagree with you from a technological perspective. I disagree with you from a price analysis perspective. If anything, Litecoin has probably the most foundational key support from a price perspective and technologically, besides Bitcoin. Litecoin is up there with Bitcoin. 100% runtime, 100% success is Bitcoin's loyal and true testnet. Everybody. Litecoin is not doomed. If crypto is to succeed, if Bitcoin is to succeed, as we just talked about in this article, right? Bitcoin succeeds, continues its growth. I can tell you, I can really assure you, I can't guarantee you because anything can happen, but I really truly believe Litecoin is going to be right there besides Bitcoin in that success. So there's way more cases for Litecoin success than there is for Litecoin failure at this point. Especially if you compare Litecoin to other less mature cryptocurrencies, right? Litecoin is one of the most mature cryptocurrencies besides Bitcoin. And with its recent gains, I think there's really good cause to be extremely bullish on Litecoin. So everybody, I mean, that's pretty much technical analysis for today. That's what we got going on. I think things are looking good. Definitely prepare for waves. Definitely prepared for consolidation, on the daily chart for Bitcoin. But really on this weekly chart here, you see great context for where we might see consolidation, just wrapping things up to bring it all back together. You see it here, this 50 moving average, 200 moving average, the pink line, consolidating in between there, similar to that last bear market, consolidating in between there. Foundational to Bitcoin's long-term success. If you want that tsunami wave, if you want this on the screen, we need support for that to happen. We really do need support for that to happen. So that's it, everybody. Be prepared, anticipate. Everybody that's here kind of hanging out with me today on this Sunday, I thank you so much. If you're here and you're not a subscriber, just hit that subscribe button, please. Let's get to 20,000 subscribers today. It would be exciting. And then I'll be like, wow, it's just a number. It really is just a number. But I appreciate you either way. Super chatters, I don't even know what to say. I'm grateful. I'm humbled. You all are awesome. I hope we can continue having fun in these crypto markets because it's been fun. I appreciate everybody hanging out with me on this Sunday. I hope you have an amazing rest of the day. Super chatters, once again, I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I'm grateful. From the bottom of my heart, I am. And I will see you all in the next live stream. Have a beautiful Sunday, a blessed Sunday, and God bless.